My little meditation this morning is built on two layers. Obviously, I'm going to start the first one now, and I'll tell you when I get to the second one. To me, they build. I don't know how you will view it. So first of all, the Beatitudes. We're mostly familiar with Matthew's version of the 8 Beatitudes, although if you read it in Matthew, there's really 9. And now today we have the Luke's version, and he puts it into 4 blesseds and the 4 woes that you just heard. In the scriptures, blessed is the same word for happy. So, what does it take to be happy? What would it take you to be happy? Mark Reckel wrote a book called Destination Happiness when he studied people's happiness. And what do you think about this example? People who, if you would win the lottery, you would be happy, right? And correspondingly, if something happened to you where you lost your health, and the example he used that a person got in an accident and was paralyzed, would you be happy? Obviously not. However, he studied the long-term effect. And he discovered that people who won the lottery after 6 months had returned to the level of happiness they had before they won the lottery. Correspondingly, somebody who had a serious health issue, was paralyzed, after 6 months had returned to the level of happiness they had before the accident. It merely reiterates, and I've said this before, that happiness is not an external stimuli in our lives. Happiness comes from the inside. I often hear people say, oh, that makes me happy, that makes me sad, that makes me angry. No, nothing makes us happy or sad or angry. That is a decision that we have made, consciously or unconsciously, on how we are going to respond to the external stimuli that comes at us or that we get involved in. As I said, it's really a decision. People who are constantly crabby, they've decided to be crabby, maybe not consciously. People who are happy have decided that that's going to be their approach to life. And think about it. Things that happen to all of us. Get caught in traffic or get in a situation that is tension-filled. Some people go ballistic, blow up. Some people maybe lay back and say, it'll pass. So the happiness event comes from within us. So Mark also studied what causes that sense of fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction. And he said, number 1, it depends on a person's willingness to be engaged in life. That they are truly willing to be engaged with their family, their friends, their community, their work. Couch potatoes will never be happy because they are just sitting there in their own self. So number 1 is being engaged with the situation in our lives, and number 2 is the sense that I'm making the world better. Don't all of us want that when we die? That because we have lived, we've made the world better. So be engaged with life and contribute to the common good. That's the engagement. That's what Jesus is trying to teach us when he talks about the 8 Beatitudes, or the 4 blessings and the 4 woes that we heard in Luke today. Now, Jesus came to give us a new perspective. And here I'm moving into the second part of my meditation this morning. Because when Jesus talks about, in Luke's gospel, I hope you caught it, I tried to emphasize it, he said he's talking to his disciples. Okay, that's us. And he says, blessed are you who are poor. He's not telling them to become poor. He's recognizing that they are poor, that they are hungry, that they are weeping, that people exclude them. If you're with me so far, who would Jesus say that to today? Who would Jesus say that to today? My opinion is it would not be us. Luke was writing to an affluent community, and I think that's us. Even though we're not super rich, of course, I don't think we're poor. I don't think we have to worry about where our next meal is coming from. I don't think we're hungry. I don't think we're wearing the only set of clothes we own. I don't think people really exclude us. Aren't we part of the mainstream? So if that's true, then who would Jesus be talking to? Putting that in today's setting, I think he'd be talking to those that are excluded in our world. The marginalized, the street people, the immigrants, the refugee, those that we really don't want to associate with. Jesus is saying that to them. And the woes, those of you who are full, who are rich, who enjoy life, all speak well of you? Isn't that a challenge? Because I'm part of that too. Now, adding to that, Paul's idea of the resurrection. I hope that most of us believe that when this life is over, we're going to go to heaven, the resurrection, because Jesus rose from the dead. If you eliminate the fact that Jesus rose from the dead, then our whole faith is in vain. Now, what's the resurrection look like? That's the key. So many people think that if they live a good life, say their prayers, try not to sin, give a few bucks to the poor, that when they die, they're going to go to heaven. And I'm not contradicting that. But I think the vision of Jesus is that the resurrection is not an intellectual belief in our head. It must be the way we live our lives. So my way of explaining it is the degree that the closeness we have with God right now is the same closeness with God that we're going to have in heaven. That's the resurrection. Now, I believe heaven has different levels of happiness. And you don't have to agree with me. Last night after Mass, I had people saying that I'm all wet. And that's all right. I have no way of proving this. But I view heaven as a big theater. God's on stage. The saints get front row seats because they can enjoy God more intensely. It's like the ballet. I think people who go to the ballet and understand it should get front row seats. I'd be very happy with the last row because I don't understand ballet. So, but that depends upon how we live it now. I don't think there's going to be a great change in our relationship with God just because we die. If you're close to God now, you're going to be close to the stage in heaven. And you can figure out all the different degrees. That's the resurrection. Not just we're going to live it then, we have to live it now. And how do we live it? By being part of the blesseds of Jesus. The poor, the hungry, the weeping, and those who are excluded. Because if we start advocating for the poor and the outcast, that doesn't go over well in our society. We will then also be excluded because we're just becoming too much like Christ. And just like he was crucified, so we will be excluded. Story is told about a king who wanted to be happy. So his advisors said, well, go out and find a person that's happy and take his shirt and put it on, and then you'll be happy. So he did that. He went out, looked around, he found this man that was extremely happy. The problem was he didn't have a shirt. Thank you for watching this week's homily here at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. We invite you to join us for liturgy any weekend that you might be in the area. You can contact us at mysaintelizabeth.com or on Facebook. Thank you very much.